Good afternoon. I'm Paul Bunje. I am the co-founder of Conservation X Labs and Thylacine Biosciences. We at Conservation X Labs, we are a technology and innovation company that builds tools and solutions to address the underlying drivers of extinction. And we do that by creating products and spinning out companies like Thylacine that can improve the efficacy, speed, and ultimately scale of our ability to intervene. We're spinning out Thylacine in order to answer this question: what could democratizing DNA do to help improve lives and protect the planet? We start with one problem, which is there's a lot of products in the world that are easy to identify, be it a fish, a pangolin, a cycad, a tiger head. But there's a lot of products traded in the world that aren't so easy. It could be processed fish or meat or who knows what. It could be bacteria, I don't know, is that pathogenic or not? Is that bone from an endangered species? Is that timber from a protected forest that is being illegally trafficked? Thankfully, there is something embedded inside of each of these products that is an immutable fingerprint, a DNA barcode. Scientists have spent the last couple of decades actually creating a massive library of barcodes through the International Consortium for the Barcode of Life. Almost 10 million of these barcodes now exist that are a specific piece of DNA stipulating which species is which. And scientists have known that there's a ton of questions that this could really well answer, such as, is that fish the same species that you're selling me and telling me that it is? Or is there a pathogenic bacteria on that piece of chicken that's going to make my kids sick? Or is there an invasive pest coming in through these ports that needs to be quarantined? DNA barcodes can answer all of those questions, but until now, it's been the purview of scientists and their labs being able to do so. That's why we've created this DNA barcode identification tool. A handheld, cheap, easy-to-use tool that goes anywhere and allows anyone to answer the question, is this a species I should be concerned about? It's a combination of hardware and software platform, including this ruggedized device that you can see upstairs, the software that makes this easy to use, and little cartridges. Much like a Nintendo Switch or Game Boy or something else, we can print the cartridge according to the game, or the question in this case, that you might want to have, and meaning that we have millions of potential questions that can be answered through this system and process. Inside this DNA barcode identification tool, Thylacine has built an amazing amount of technology that goes from the individual question being asked, preloading those cartridges with the barcodes to be detected, then doing the sampling, processing through a significant amount of chemistry, transferring it over to amplify, tag, and then detect the DNA, giving the answer. Now that's a lot of complex technology that we've distilled down into just 2 user steps. Just a simple swab, a simple transfer, and you've got your answer. This thing is made so that anyone can use it. Doesn't even require literacy. Incredibly straightforward and easy. It's also 10 times cheaper than any similar product on the market today, none of which actually incorporate the ability to prepare from a tissue sample, for example. And the results come due with high accuracy in 45 minutes, as opposed to the several days it can take using traditional DNA barcode methods in a lab. Why does this matter? Well, there's lots of different places where if you don't know the species, it costs consumers and businesses billions. Be that food fraud broadly with $40 billion lost for not knowing, or invasive species that cause $120 billion worth of damage. Even smaller things like timber trafficking is a $5 billion industry. The one space where there is some rapid diagnostic testing, food safety, because there are lots of rules and regulations, the same type of tool, none of which are as easy to use or cheap as ours, are already selling into a market of $20 billion worth today. But what about all the rest of those? Well, that's where democratizing DNA comes in. We want to greatly expand the number of users and customers, and for every single one of them, make it cheaper and faster to save people time and money. Imagine you're at a sushi restaurant. You've already heard how this can go, and you're wondering whether or not you're getting something real. Well, first of all, 75% of the sushi restaurants in this country serve some sort of mislabeled fish. You're almost certainly getting it. A third, as you heard in the United States, is mislabeled. It's even higher. A recent study from last week found that 60% of fish in Canada is mislabeled currently. If you're buying snapper, you're almost certainly not getting snapper. It's over 87% mislabeled. What that results in is losses to consumers. Over $25 billion a year in cost to consumers, because sometimes you might think you're buying cod, but in reality it's escalar, and that can cause massive digestive problems, ruining your date at the sushi restaurant. There are also regulations on the book, $250,000 per illegal import, 5 years in jail. And as you heard, why is this a problem? Because so much is imported, but almost none is inspected. It's too cheap, it's too expensive, it takes too long, and it's not easy to do. It requires a scientist training until today with what we've built. So imagine now that you're this fish buyer and you've got an hour to decide whether or not to buy that tuna because somebody told you it was a high quality, expensive one. But an hour is not enough time to send it to the lab. Right now you make an educated guess and you might be lost. With the DNA barcode identification tool that Thylacine is developing, we offer people the ability to protect their brand, increase quality control, to avoid those risks, be they litigation or punitive, and of course increasing sustainability, because this type of illegal fishing and substitution actually makes destructive fishing more profitable, and it undermines sustainability efforts like well-managed fisheries. Doing complex engineering is hard. It requires an amazing team. These are the four founders: Alex Dagan, the former chief scientist at the U.S. Agency for International Development; myself, I was the former chief scientist at XPRIZE; David Bache, who's here with us today, one of the world's leading experts in DNA barcoding; and Hal Holmes, our genius chief engineer. And of course, supported by a huge amount of other scientists, engineers, business professionals, and others through Conservation X Labs. Permit me to brag a little bit about some of the traction we've gotten. Hal just came off of a Schmidt Sciences Fellowship. We're very proud of that. He also led our successful application for a More Inventor Award, which is a prestigious award given to inventions. We were the first nonprofit organization ever to receive a More Inventor Award, beating out folks like MIT and Stanford. We've gotten a lot of traction with some folks that we're working with already, corporates, nonprofits, and others. A lot of interest from retail in protecting their supply chains and brands, coverage in the news media, and of course our funders and partners who we're extremely proud to work with because they both believe in the mission and the possibility to answer this question about what you would do once DNA is democratized. Thank you.